What a do, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Unquestionable Truth Part 1. This is an EP by Limp Bizkit, and it came out in the spring of 2005. Now, this is the first project to have the guitarist Wes Borland on here since Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water from 2000. Their 2003 album, Results May Vary, did not have him on there, and that was kind of a panned album by critics and kind of word of mouth folks alike, more local kind of folks. And really, Limp Bizkit had just kind of had a bad sense of appeal since about Significant Other. I think folks liked their first couple albums like $3 Bill Y'all and Significant Other, but anything after that was kind of sketchy. But I did definitely enjoy Chocolate Starfish, and I continue to enjoy that project today. And I gave back in 2015, I gave Results May Vary, I want to say like a 10 out of 10. So I liked all those projects, but I kind of look after this is a return to form. This is another one that's going to get a really rave score. I definitely like this one quite a bit, and I felt like this definitely brought some things back. Wes Borland being on this project was definitely an excellent kind of valve just because there are some catchy riffs on here that return things to kind of Significant Other type days, which is pretty good. It has like a small taste of like Chocolate Starfish, but not in an overabundance. But this is basically like a beefed up version of Significant Other. Now, the only real fault to this project is just the fact that it just doesn't really have much promotion. They kind of just released it kind of willy-nilly and stuff, which just kind of happens to be the thing. But I look after it, like the concept behind it is there is quality on here. It's definitely the good thing. It's just the fact that whether or not you know about it, like there's just like barely a promotional single, and then most of this project kind of wrapped up as far as that kind of went. But this is basically, I would say, about it's in the same valve as like $3 Bill Y'all and Significant Other, and I just look at that concept. It's on par with the quality. It just doesn't have the recognition. There's also kind of a gimmick where the word "the" is in every single one of these songs, like the key, the truth, the priest, the channel, some of that type of stuff. They're all kind of in that same sort of format. So I feel like the song kind of values are not quite as vivid, but they are good songs. Just kind of the song titles and topics would seem kind of more offhanded as far as that kind of goes. But kind of talk about some of this. I do feel like this is probably one of Limp Bizkit's best. It's too bad that this had to be an EP because I look after it, I think because Results May Vary didn't really do that well. I think because Results May Vary didn't do that well, they had to kind of downgrade to just like EP format. But this is definitely pretty quality. And it's just like after this project, they took a 6 year gap until Gold. They took a 6 year gap until Gold Cobra from 2011, which was another one that this was said to not do that well. I like that one too. So it's this kind of thing. But I look after it. There wasn't much promotion, like I was saying about this project, but the first single was called, or at least the promotional single was The Truth. And this is a pretty good one. This is a pretty nice one. This is a creeping kind of mosh energy too, and I would say this is a late evening highlight, and it's got a calm approach, but it's very Rage Against the Machine like, and it feels like a beefed up version of Nookie. I feel like this sort of song is very similar to Nookie by Limp Bizkit, has that same kind of ravenous kind of energy, but it's just kind of calmer about it. At least in the production, it's pretty ravenous. I feel like Wes Borland definitely had some great riffs with like the first two songs, The Truth and The Propaganda. Those are two of the best on here. But this one very much has the same composition of like Rage Against the Machine back in like 1999 or 1992 or something like that. But you just look after it, it's just very much like almost like political rap kind of song, political rap rock kind of song. It's in that same kind of composition as Rage Against the Machine, but it just kind of feels like the song Nookie as far as that kind of goes. So it's just got real mosh kind of energy, real kind of crazy, but then Fred Durst is just so calm on the song. It's just kind of odd as far as that kind of goes. Just a nice kind of dichotomy of a song that's crazy, but kind of keeps its composure about it. So that's kind of the thing. So now to talk about the songs I recommend on here. Out of 7 songs, the only real song I don't recommend is The Priest. And the reason why I don't recommend The Priest is just because I didn't really like the composition of that song, didn't really like the arrangement. It was kind of an odd topic as well, and I just didn't really like kind of the way that the setup of that song kind of went. Just the riffs and just the overall arrangements of that song were just not there for me. But other than that, I liked every single song on here. So talk about some of these. Like I feel like if you like the song "Rollin'" by Limp Bizkit, a real song that's pretty similar to that, and it's like a beefed up version of that is "The Propaganda." This is a riveting kind of gnarly energy. This song, "The Propaganda," has a riveting kind of gnarly energy about it. It's a more souped up version of "Rollin'," I would say, and it's just got some nice rave kind of vibes. Definitely like this one. It's probably one of the most crazy songs on here, and this is one where Fred Durst is not quite as calm as he was on The Truth. So this is definitely one that can be used for a pretty gnarly kind of mosh type energy as far as that kind of goes. Another one that's kind of like that is like The Channel, but I feel like The Propaganda is definitely the craziest song on here. Definitely gives me vibes of like rolling all over again. The Surrender is a pretty good highlight off here. This is a sullen kind of post-grunge power ballad. It's very similar to Rearranged, and it just has a crisp kind of affable moodiness about it. It's very similar to the stuff that Puddle of Mud and Nickelback kind of do. This feels ripped out of 2001 or 2002, something like that. It's just that same kind of pitch. Definitely like the concept of getting this one. It's very much a gloomy kind of song. Has the gloomiest kind of production on here, and I do like the concept of getting that one. Would have to say it's just interesting. This is pretty much a song like this is pretty much why there needed to be more songs on this particular project, because they nailed this sort of vibe so well. This is just like vintage Limp Bizkit the way that they were off of My Way from Chocolate Starfish and that same sort of pitch. It's very much like a kind of gloomy, just kind of makeshift kind of it's just very much like a gloomy kind of makeshift kind of dredge of a song that just works real well for like the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. kind of dredge as far as that kind of goes. Just a nice sullen one to kind of have just like in the late summer, early fall, or just pretty much even winter, I would say works in that same sort of sense as far as that kind of dredge. This really kind of works well for that. So The Key is another nice one. This is like an electro mini bop. The Key is a pretty excellent song on here. This is an electro mini bop. It's a nice interim song, and it's a trippy quickie and a good appetizer. I feel like this is a nice song when you're going to the gas station, you got your buddies in the car, and you pick up like a Pepsi, something like that. Just kind of an interim song to kind of wait. It's like a minute and a half, but I would have to say it's still pretty good in the context of what it is. Just a nice quickie to kind of just really get something out of the fridge, just kind of have like kind of a thriller, just in a sense of just having that riveting kind of energy, but just kind of being an interim of just things being an in between, not quite a full blown rave kind of song, but just something that just kind of gets you thrilled. It's kind of like a preview in a movie, something like that. Just has that same kind of context. Channel is a pretty excellent song on here. This is a beefed up kind of break stuff type tune, and by break stuff, I'm talking about break stuff from Significant Other. So if you like that song from Significant Other, this is like a more kind of souped up and beefed up kind of version of that. It's definitely a jivey mosh and evening club boiler. I would definitely say it's a good one to kind of hear out and about. So Limp Bizkit did have some of these songs on here, which is pretty awesome to kind of get. Definitely like the concept of getting some of these. Just another good album cut to kind of have. So this is a pretty snappy album, but it does its service. I mean, it has like I feel like the two craziest songs on here would be the Propaganda and the Channel. These both deliver on like that pitch as far as that kind of goes. And then the story. And the story is a straightforward kind of crunk bubbler. I feel like this is a regular kind of crazy night, I would say, and it's just an easy kind of hangout bop, and it's pretty edgy. So this is definitely one where you're just kind of hanging out with your buddies, that type of stuff. Just kind of an easy song to play throughout the night. Just kind of an easy, kind of catchy kind of one to kind of have just in like the sense of just like a mellow kind of night with just pizza and PlayStation and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Spades, some cards, that sort of thing. Just some standard goodies, just smoke sessions, that sort of stuff. This is a pretty straightforward kind of one. Definitely needed more songs like this also. I feel like I did like Propaganda, the Channel, the Keys. I mean, every one of these songs has its correct pitch for the most part. Almost every one of these songs has its pitch in the correct sense. All of these kind of have a valve that just makes you wish that there were a few more. It's kind of surprising that folks just kind of abandoned Limp Bizkit the way that they did, because there's so many quality songs on here. It's kind of like their middle finger back to the critics and the haters and that type of stuff, just because it's like, hey, all these songs are this good, and then you look after it because of the hate and the flack that Limp Bizkit got, you really only get 7 songs. So it was actually the fans that wound up getting screwed over, just because there's so many good songs on here. And you have to kind of look after it, that just because of the lack of success from Results May Vary, that they were only able to put out an EP. But the songs on here are pretty good. I mean, they got Wes Borland back. They had a good effectual sense of the songs to sit there and do. And it just was kind of, I mean, I would have liked the song titles to have been more interesting, but I definitely feel like most of these songs on here are quite charming and have that kind of appeal. And it just made me not just want clones of the songs that were good, but also a few more songs to see what they could have done with this actual project. So that's kind of the thing. But I look after it. Yeah, this EP is going to get a 10 out of 10, like just about every song on here. And that's pretty much the concept. I mean, I've pretty much had a history of giving Limp Bizkit albums pretty high scores. I want to say I gave Chocolate Starfish, Gold Cobra, and Results May Vary all 10s out of 10 from what I remember. I mean, it's been 7.5, 8 years since I've done it, but I definitely would have to say this is another good vintage one. I connect with these. They're definitely pretty solid. Good riff kind of energy, good kind of mosh kind of energy, and good kind of affable hangout energy and club energy and just interim energy that just works extremely well. So that's kind of the thing. The social score, though, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Well, although I do feel like these songs connect and there's enough songs on here, I kind of feel like the affability just between how well this. I mean, I feel like these songs would connect with folks, but because there's not really any promotion or singles, it's kind of questionable as to how the degree as to how much folks would fuck with it. That's this kind of thing. I look after it. I mean, there's some quality on here, and the production is good, but it's just more word of mouth strictly and less kind of radio jingles and that type of stuff, where it's just more reliable that you've heard some of this. That's kind of thing. It's just, and on top of that, there was only one single, so that's this kind of concept. It wasn't the Limp Bizkit of like the 8 times platinum chocolate starfish or the 5 or 6 times platinum of significant others. That's kind of the thing I just would have to say. But that's just kind of the concept. So in terms of the future, like Limp Bizkit did drop an album in late 2021, but that's the only real project left I have to review by Limp Bizkit. I'm thinking about reviewing kind of the bootleg, kind of unauthorized Stampede of the Disco Elephants. That's kind of floating around, so I might review that one also. But I just would have to say I'm definitely going to review Still Sucks from 2021, and then I might review. Well, I'm probably going to look into reviewing Stampede of the Disco Elephants. But yeah, we've got quite a bit of Limp Bizkit here, and this is just another vintage one to fuck with.